Thank you for coming to the CJ Real Talk with U.S. Probations. Just to introduce y'all, this is Lizette Ramos. She's actually one of our alumni. And this is Izzy Valdelemar. Ellie Valdelemar.
All right, great. As Ms. Rodriguez said, I am Lizette Ramos, and this is Ellie. Yes. So thank you for being here. We're excited to be here. We're honored that we have been given this opportunity to talk to you guys a little bit about what we do on a daily basis, our passion, what we love to do. So very excited to be here, and I just want to thank you guys for coming as well and taking some time out of your day to listen to us and get some more information. So as I was telling you guys when you were walking in earlier, I said I put a thought on the screen, and I hope you guys took some time to think about that. And if not, I'll give you a few seconds to think about the thought. I came to this presentation because. And with that, I would ask for 1 to 3 volunteers to share why you came to this presentation today.
I came to this presentation because I also want to be a probation officer for juveniles. I don't know if that's what y'all work with, but I just want to know, like you said, the day-to-day basis and how, or what my future will look like.
Somebody else that wants to share? Yes.
I know criminal justice is my passion, and I'm not sure specifically what I want to do. So I want to learn more about these different jobs, and if this is possibly something I'd be interested in.
So we have someone that said they are interested in probation. They want to be a juvenile probation officer. Not sure if federal probation has to do with juveniles, so she came out to hear that. And for you, you just want to find out different avenues of possible career paths, is what I heard. Is that correct? Okay, anyone else? Yes. So she says also the same as student behind her, just interested. What is federal probation, right? And trying to get some more information on the possible career choice. Last person, anybody? If not, we can move on. Is everybody pretty much in the same boat? Okay, great. All right, so thank you for sharing and being vulnerable and sharing that thought with us. It's always important when we go to a presentation, it's like, why am I here? What am I doing, right? So we like to start off with just getting our minds thinking why we're here. So thank you for that. Before we get into our presentation on answering those questions and telling you and giving you a sneak peek about U.S. probation, we're going to do an activity. It is going to require you to get up and move around. So just bear with me. This activity is called voting with your feet. Is anyone familiar with voting with your feet? It's okay. I'm going to show you. So I'm going to give you an example. So what it is like I'm standing here, Ellie is standing there, and I'm going to say a statement. For example, I like chocolate ice cream. If that sounds like you, you would get close to me. You would vote this way with your feet, stand here. If that doesn't sound like you, you don't like chocolate ice cream, then you would stand over there where Ellie is. And if you're somewhere in between, you just stand in the middle, okay? So that's what we're gonna do. We're going to vote with our feet, so if you guys can go ahead and get up.
If you go ahead and come up here to the front, just stand in the front. Sorry. So basically you'll be yes, I'll be no, and if you're neutral or don't know, you'll stand in the center.
All right, so the first statement is, I know a lot about probation. If you know a lot, you're here. If you don't know anything about probation, you're there. And if you're somewhat in the middle, then that's where you would go. I know a lot about parole. So most of you guys are closer to the middle about probation and parole. Does anybody can share with me a fact or something that they know about probation or parole? So probation is used as an alternative to incarceration. Yeah, thank you. Someone else? Why did you feel that you were in the middle, not so much this way, not so much that way?
It's not like really in depth, but we know like the general what it is and how it's used.
Great, thank you for sharing. So most of you were in the middle about probation and parole, so here's the next statement. I know a lot about federal probation and federal supervised release. Right. So what does this look like to you as we voted with our feet? What is the consensus in the room? What would you say?
We're not familiar.
Okay. So you would say you're not familiar, you have not even heard of federal probation or federal supervised release. Is that correct? Okay, great. So that's why we're here. So let's go ahead and take a seat. Round of applause. Thank you for joining and doing this activity. So it gives us an idea of where we are. So yeah, thank you for sharing and letting us know, because this activity is meant so I can read the room. I know where we're at, what do we need to go over. And so what I saw, and what we saw in the room, is that some know about probation and the parole system because of what you've learned in classes, not so much in depth, so you didn't feel completely comfortable with knowing a lot. But as far as federal probation, that's not anything that you guys have heard of before. And that's not uncommon. It wasn't, I'm gonna say it wasn't too long ago, but it doesn't feel like it was too long ago, but it was about 20 years ago or more that I was where you were at. And I was in the same position. Didn't hear anything about federal probation, had never heard about federal probation. And so it's our goal to pass on this information, to give you some awareness, give you some information about federal probation so that you can possibly consider it as a career path as you're navigating and you're preparing post-graduation. And just put another thought in your mind. Usually we know about being an attorney, we know about federal law enforcement agencies, we know about state and county probation, but not so much about federal probation, and it's a very rewarding career. So we're very passionate about it, and that's why we're here. Ellie, would you say that you were in the same position about not knowing about federal probation?
Yeah, so like Lizette said, so I was a county probation officer for 40 years. Looking back at it now, and I didn't learn about truly what federal probation was until that last year of my county career, and then an opportunity became available. But yeah, looking back, I wish I would have known about it earlier on. I would have probably just done 1 or 2 years of county, and then I would have gone an early start on my federal career. Because that's literally the minimum requirement of experience that you need instead of wasting. We're not wasting, because I did gain some insight and experience, but yeah, I would have just done 2 years instead of 4.
So again, that's our passion, that's our mission, that's why we're here, and thank you again for being here so that you can kind of get an idea, you're getting a heads up in a way, and learning about a very rewarding career that we are very passionate about. So when I say federal probation, United States probation, U.S. probation, they're all the same. When we say United States probation, I hope that jogs in your mind or triggers in your mind, United States, it's the full country, okay? You guys have learned about probation, likely heard about the county probation, state probation, U.S. probation is a federal thing. And so we have officers all across the country in different districts. I'm gonna break that down for you. But for now, I want you to hear, I'm gonna play this video, it's about a 4-minute video. I want you to hear from current officers across the country of what federal probation is all about, okay? So hopefully that answers some of the questions that you had and gave you a brief synopsis of what we do. We are out in the community, we are change agents. As far as your question about whether we work with juveniles, we do not work with juveniles. We have had juveniles, but it's very rare. It would have to be maybe a juvenile that committed a federal crime, and that's not usually what we supervise. It's very, very rare. But we supervise adults in the community. Okay, so that was current officers across the country letting you know what we do. And if you noticed, hopefully, they all kind of said the same things, right? They all said the same things, and that's just the way that we operate. Sometimes we like to say we're like a McDonald's. with different franchises. Like, we're all federal probation officers, but different districts operate a little differently. But we're all the same, we all have the same philosophy, we all have the same mission and the same goals. With that, that's federally, that's nationally. I want to tell you a little bit about us, the Eastern District of Texas. So we go to the next slide. As far as the way the districts are broken up, there are 4 districts in Texas. Okay, so nationally we have several districts in the country. In Texas we have 4 districts. So that's the Southern District, and I think that would be like Huntsville, Houston, a lot of the southern areas, Laredo, McAllen. That's the Southern District of Texas. We have the Northern District of Texas, the northern part of the country, Dallas, Amarillo, Abilene, Lubbock. We have the Western District of Texas, San Antonio, Austin, Del Rio, Pecos, the western side of the state, and then you have us, the Eastern District of Texas. This is a map of our district, so you see how big we are. We're not a large district, we're not a small district either. We're pretty much an average sized district, the Eastern District of Texas. Our counties go all the way up to Cook County, which is, if you were to be able to see that a little bit closer, we border Oklahoma. So we go that far up, and as far down as Beaumont, okay? Do you have anything to add to that? We're gonna go to the next slide. So furthermore, as far as our makeup and how the Eastern District of Texas is made up, like I said, we are one district within 4 districts in Texas. We are one district within 94 districts in the country. So around the country, we have 94 federal judicial districts. Those are made up of every state in the United States, as well as the territories. So that's Hawaii, Guam, the Virgin Islands. We have districts and offices there as well. For us, for the Eastern District, we cover 43 counties, and you saw that in the map. Those 43 counties are divided into 6 offices, what we call 6 divisions. So in the Eastern District of Texas, we have 6 divisions. Ellie, do you have anything to add about the divisions? Sorry.
So I'm located at the Tyler one, she's located at the Plano one. And then we do have the 3 disciplines, which is pre-sentence, pre-trial, and post-conviction. We're both post-conviction.
So you'll see that we have it here in our banner as well. Our 6 divisions are Plano, that's close to the Dallas area, that's where I'm at. We have our Sherman office, which is a little bit further north, close to Plano. Then we have Tyler. Ellie works in Tyler. Beaumont, Lufkin, and Texarkana. Those are our 6 divisions. So if you live around that area and you maybe just go to school here, keep that in mind when you're looking at a career choice. One thing that I just want to talk about and kind of brag about our district is, like I said earlier, we're not a huge district, we're not a small district, we're a medium-sized district, and we're very tight-knit. So it's a very cool place to work for the Eastern District of Texas. She said she's in Tyler, I'm in Plano, yet we see each other regularly, whether it's at safety trainings, any trainings that we hold, or just a question about a case. We don't supervise the same people. We don't, their cases are their cases, our cases are our cases by division, but we're very, very close and tight-knit.
Yeah, I mean, we're so close, and I mean, we offer to cover each other's hearings. We'll step in and do drug tests for each other. If one of us isn't available, we'll offer to do intakes, office visits, field visits. So I think that's it's not to be biased, but this is a really great district. We work well together. And yeah, I mean, it just makes it easier. It makes the job easier because we can depend on each other and support each other.
She and I are 2.5 hours away. I'm about 5.5 hours from our Beaumont office, and yeah, even then we travel there to see each other. In our district, the way that it works, the organizational chart, we have a chief, we have a deputy chief, assistant chief, we have supervisors, specialists, and then we have line officers. Like Ellie said, we have 3 disciplines in federal probation: pretrial, pre-sentence, and post-conviction officers. Ellie and I are both post-conviction officers. I'm going to show you a video shortly here that explains each discipline into more depth, but we do have 3 disciplines. Just to give you a ballpark idea, this may not be relevant to you, not really resonate completely, but we're also a very busy district. We're very busy. Last year, we supervised about 1,367 individuals.
And then obviously you can tell the difference. There was 121 probation cases and 1,246 supervised release cases, so that's a huge difference. And basically probation is what we call a gift in the federal system. It's very rare. I mean, I think I've maybe seen 2 probation cases. I don't get them often. It's normally supervised release, and that's just because most of the federal crimes do carry just a mandatory prison term. We do see a lot of drug cases, gun charges, immigration cases, a lot of fraud, financial crime cases. So probation is normally just reserved for our low-level, non-violent first-time offenders. But normally, yeah, we're only going to see supervised release cases, which they've already completed their prison term, imprisonment term, and now they've been released.
And thank you, Ellie. And that's a big difference. I think someone, when we were out here doing the voting for the feed, said probation is an alternative to incarceration. And that's the difference in federal probation. Like she said, very few people actually receive federal probation where they don't go to prison. Most of the people that we supervise have spent some time in prison. It can be anywhere from 3 months, 6 months to over 20 years, and now they're coming out back into the community and they have a probation officer. So that is one of the big differences between state probation and federal probation. Again, just to emphasize a little bit more how busy we are in the Eastern District, and it'll make more sense when you watch the video, is our pretrial officers wrote 661 reports last year, and our pre-sentence officers wrote about 1,167 pre-sentence reports last year. Do you guys, so you see how busy we are? I'm just gonna ask a question out to you guys. Which agencies do you think are involved or help us to get those numbers, to get those cases to come before the court and before the system? Think about any agencies that may be responsible for bringing these cases forth.
3-letter agency.
FBI. And a 3-letter agency? DEA. DEA, ATF, FBI, the U.S. Postal Service, the tax investigators, ICE, HSI, Border Patrol. We work very closely with those agencies, very closely. And so as you saw in the previous video, they said, federal probation, we're not knocking down doors, we're not doing the arrests, we're not doing that part. We come in after the fact. So those 3-letter agencies, those law enforcement agencies, yeah, they're doing the investigating, they're doing the surveillance, they're knocking down the doors, making the arrests. They bring it before the United States Attorney's Office, the federal judge then signs off, and then we come into play. That's how probation gets involved. They do all the investigation, the arrests, and then you have federal probation. We're a big component of that federal judiciary system. So do you have any questions so far? I'm going to show you the video. It's a cartoon. Okay, are we following along? We're doing good? All right. This is about a 2 to 3 minute video.
This is Sam. He's an imaginary character, a guy who made some bad choices and fell into the drug trade. Federal agents have arrested Sam. He's charged with possession with intent to distribute cocaine. As he makes his way through the judicial system, probation and pretrial services will bookend his journey. A pretrial service officer interviews Sam soon after his arrest. The officer prepares a pretrial services report to help the judge decide whether Sam should be detained or released. The report tries to gauge Sam's likelihood of appearing at future court hearings and the danger he may pose to the community. The officer believes Sam is a low risk. Based on Sam's history, the judge decides it's okay to release him. But he can't leave the jurisdiction, is subject to random drug testing, and must report regularly to his pretrial services officer. Sam complies with all the conditions of his pretrial release. Months later, after consulting his lawyer, he decides to forego a trial. Because of his criminal history and the evidence against him, he pleads guilty. Now it's up to the judge to decide Sam's sentence. The judge orders the probation office to prepare a pre-sentence report. The pre-sentence report builds on the pre-trial report. It includes Sam's criminal history, the impact of his crimes on others, possible restitution to victims, the prospects for rehabilitation, and relevant sentencing guidelines. Sam is worried. He could be sentenced to 5 years in prison, but instead, the judge orders him to serve 2 years, followed by 3 years of supervised release. When Sam gets out of prison, he's placed under the supervision of Jill, a probation officer. If Sam violates the terms of his supervision, he could go back to prison. This happens to about 1 in 5 people under federal supervision. Jill tries to support Sam by arranging drug counseling, helping him to find a job or go back to school, and coaching Sam on making better decisions. Jill will make unannounced visits to Sam's home and job to see how he's doing, in order to prevent small setbacks from becoming big problems. By the time Sam finishes his supervision, he should be a better decision maker who has fulfilled his responsibilities to the victim or community, committed no new crimes, and is prepared for continued success.
Okay, so I hope you guys are listening, because I do have 3 questions, and that's an opportunity to win a pen and some chocolate. So the first one is, if someone could tell me which discipline comes first, pre-trial, pre-sentence, or post-conviction? Okay. Pre-trial? Yeah. He might have been down. I'm so sorry. I don't know. Thank you. The next one is, what is the name of the report the judge orders for sentencing purposes? Yes, pre-sentence report.
You're the winner, Stephen.
And then the last one is, what type of initiatives or assistance did the officer provide at the end of the video? That was a long one.
Assist them with like employment, job fairs, any type of counseling that they may need. So that's the role of the post-conviction officer, just providing those resources to them. Okay. So that gave you a little bit of idea of how it works, how the disciplines are broken down. If you saw in the video, we work for federal judges. Here's another question. Some of the federal, let's back it up a little bit. Some of the federal cases, some federal, famous federal cases that you may come to mind are, for example, P. Diddy. All right, you guys are familiar with that? So P. Diddy has now been convicted, which I want to bring something up, and you may have seen in the video. They said the gentleman, or the character that was in the cartoon, he decided to forego trial, and he decided to enter a guilty plea, and so then they ordered the pre-sentence report. Something that I'd just like to share is very interesting. In our office, in our district, we have what's called like these reentry orientations for defendants that are going to prison, and offenders that have already completed the entire process that did very well. We have them come back so they can kind of coach the people that will be going to prison soon, to give them an idea of what to expect and how to use their time effectively there. And so one of the things that she said, one of the offenders said was, yeah, very few people actually go to trial, because when the feds have you, the feds got you. So that's pretty much how it works. And so that's P. Diddy's case. He actually took it to trial. He's awaiting something, and the way the federal probation officers came into be involved, as you know or you may not know, he was denied bail. He's in custody, right? He's trying to fight that. A pretrial services officer, the U.S. probation officer, had to prepare that bail report. They prepared that bail report, and they made that recommendation to the judge as far as should he be detained or should he be released, based on that criteria that you saw on that cartoon. now that he's going to be sentenced next month. Yeah, he'll be sentenced next month, and I think it's out of the Southern District of New York. He'll be sentenced next month. An officer, a probation officer, had to be assigned to write that pre-sentence report. And those pre-sentence reports are very lengthy. They have all the information. Can you imagine all of P. Diddy's like social history, his family history, his financial history, his assets? All of that has to be covered by the federal probation officer. That's the pre-sentence officer. We prepare that report for the court. And so just so you know, we work with federal judges, and does anybody know anything about federal judges and who appoints them? Take a wild guess. Who appoints federal judges? The president. Right? The president appoints federal judges, and does anyone know for how long they're appointed? Is it a term, a couple of years, 5 years? Not quite sure. They're appointed for life. Okay, so they're kind of a big deal, we like to say. Our district judges, our federal judges are a big deal. They're appointed by the by the president, and they're appointed for life. So we work this close. We are the eyes and ears of the federal judges. They rely on federal probation officers very much. So for example, like in the P. Diddy case, there's going to be a probation officer, but they likely already completed that pre-sentence report. They've applied the guidelines, and they're going to give a recommendation to the judge. How long should this person be incarcerated within that range? You'll have a range, let's just hypothetically say 200 to 230 months. That probation officer makes that determination. They take the culmination of that person. There's no cookie cutter. Like, okay, you committed bank robbery, so this bank robber and that bank robber are all going to get 20 years. It doesn't work like that. It takes into consideration their criminal history, it takes into consideration their social history, and it takes into consideration the offense that they committed, whether they played a leadership role in that offense. So there's so many components that the probation officer has to calculate and put together so they can make the best recommendation. It's a very serious job because you're dealing with somebody's life, okay? This is someone's life that you will potentially impact. So you can't just willy-nilly say, okay, yeah, let's just do 200 months, that's what big robbers get. No, you have to take this into consideration and really think this is someone's life. They're going away for a long time. And so, again, the federal judges rely on us. Over 90% of the time, they're going to go with our recommendations because they trust us. They know that we're very professional and we're very thorough when we do our jobs. So that's the impact that the federal probation officer has in the pre-sentence discipline. So you've got P. Diddy, you've got R. Kelly, Nate Newton, former Dallas Cowboy. He actually was supervised out of our office in Plano. El Chapo, Timothy McVeigh. Who else we have there?
Martha Stewart, and I believe she's the only one out of the list that actually was released on supervised release. She was on home confinement for 5 months and completed that. And yeah, I guess she had a post-conviction officer, so someone like us supervised her for 5 months and checked in on her, did her home visits.
Any questions so far? Okay. So just going to recap basically, again, those disciplines so that you can just, we're just going to go down very quickly and just go through what each discipline does. I'm going to have Ellie go over that with you.
So like she said, we're going to recap so first is pretrial. Obviously this is prior to them being convicted. A pretrial officer will interview the defendant. They will get like their background information, which would require, intel employment history, criminal history, did they have any ties to the community, and if they are a flight risk. And then they would create this report, provide it to the judge, and then the judge, that would advise the judge if they should be detained or released. If they are released, they would be released on pretrial supervision. So the pretrial officer would supervise them, and that would just consist of maybe doing monthly home contacts with them, just to make sure that they are going to show up to their court dates, and maybe possibly if they have like a drug condition, they would do random drug testing. Pre-sentence. That's after they've been convicted. So once they've been convicted, a pre-sentence officer would come in and they would do a more thorough, detailed investigation about their background that would entail family, their personal history, mental health history, substance abuse history, criminal history, once again, employment, assets. And then the officer would research and apply any sentencing guidelines just to, because they have to make that recommendation. They will make the sentencing recommendation, and that all comes out of the guidelines and statute book. This is what we all work out of. So this helps us create this sentencing recommendation for the judge. And like Lizette was saying, normally the judge will go without recommendation, just so we can make it fair. And
If you'd like me real quick. So I remember being in a CJ class, and one of the books that we had was the Penal Code, the Blue Book. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you were required to purchase it. So that's the Penal Code book for all the laws in Texas, right? And what the punishment is for those. So for us in the federal, we have our federal statutes. So any federal crime that can be committed is in here. These are our guidelines. This is what determines how long someone goes. So every offense is in here, and it gets a point. We combine that with someone's criminal history. So in a way, sometimes federal probation officers are almost like attorneys. There's a lot of times when we have to answer objections that once we calculate it, because there's a lot of calculation, once we calculate it, attorneys will object to things, and we have to answer those objections. Our precincts officers do. So these are our books, like the books that y'all have. These are our guides.
okay, the next is post-conviction supervision, which is what we both do. And this is when obviously they've either been released on probation or they've completed their imprisonment term and they've been released on supervised release. It says parole, but parole's
Yeah,
been
it says
abolished.
parole up there. Parole was abolished, I think, in 1984, so there's no such thing as federal parole. I've been around a long time, so I have supervised some parole cases, but those are pretty much phased out. We don't have parole. That's when the guidelines came into play, and I could talk about the guidelines on it, but it would just be way over. It's a lot. But we now have federal supervised release. Parole has been abolished.
Yeah, and basically what we do is we just monitor, make sure that they do comply with the court order obligations that they have. But not only that, we also provide them resources, so we will help them find employment, stable housing, if they need transportation, we'll provide those resources. Sometimes simply just getting their driver's license, we can help them with that. And then not just that, but we also do have a job to keep the community safe as well. So if they, unfortunately, some people do complete it successfully, and then we have some that do violate. So we are required to report those non-compliance issues to the court, and obviously make a recommendation for a sanction. And sometimes there's no other thing we can do but request a warrant, and then obviously we would have to go through the revocation proceedings. That's when post-conviction also uses the guidelines, so we have to make a recommendation for a revocation sentencing. And then something we have to testify in court, so it's a lot.
It is. And so I know that you guys said when we did our voting with our feet, you were familiar with probation. So one of the big things about state, another difference between state probation and federal probation is the amount of caseload that we have. So a state probation officer usually has like 100 and upwards of people that they supervise. At the federal level, we have smaller caseloads, anywhere from 50 to 60, depending on where you are in the country. And so you think, oh, that's not a lot, that's great. But we're like very invested in the people that we supervise. It's not an in and out, hi, how are you, did you do your community service? It's more like, how can I help you? As you heard in the videos, some of these individuals have been incarcerated 10, 15, 20 years. They've been there all of their lives. A lot of them are repeat offenders. And so they don't have a lot of good problem-solving skills. They don't have a lot of skills, period. And they don't know where to start. And so that's the role of the post-conviction officers, to help them to reintegrate to society. Our goal is not to send them back to prison. It's actually a lot of work on our end.
Way more work. You have to make sure, because yeah, they come out, they release, and that's the thing. Like, they immediately think, oh, they're just working against me to try to send me back. No, we're actually not, because that requires so much paperwork and so much work.
And we're very invested. We're public servants first and foremost, so we're here to serve the public. You have to have that public servant heart if you want to do this job. We're public servants. We go to them. They hardly come to our office. We're always out in the community seeing them. We see them mornings, weekends, evenings. We're consistently working, and they're unannounced. We want to work with their work schedules, and we're out there with them. And so again, like Ellie was saying, and the video showed 1 in 5 are revoked. They don't comply, but it takes a lot to be revoked, to be honest, at the federal level. We, especially in the Eastern District, we give them a lot of chances. We work with them, we send them to counseling. Everything is free. That's another difference from when I went from the state to federal. We have a lot of resources, so all of our substance abuse, our mental health, all of those services are free. If somebody gave me counseling for free, I'd jump on it, you know? So, and it's as long as they need it. It's not even 3 months, 6 months. We're monitoring that. We're very invested with them, so we're talking to the treatment providers, we're going to their counseling sessions, we're sitting in there. This is something we do monthly, very invested. So by the time they go back,
We don't charge them probation fees, that's the difference.
they don't have probation fees.
Literally everything's free.
Everything for them is free. They just have to show up and do the right thing, and then we are like their guide, we're their coach. How can I help you? We're here to serve them. But the other side is that we do hold them accountable. Like what I was saying earlier, at the precedence level, how the judges rely on our recommendation. At the post-conviction level, the judges know that about us. They know that we know that case very well. When I say we know them well, we know who they're dating, we know where they work, yeah, we know when they're sick, we know about their kids. We're out there a lot. We're very invested in them, and so by the time we get to court and it's time to revoke a case, honestly, a lot of them say, thank you, Ms. Ramos. I know you work with me. Thank you for helping out.
Yeah, I mean, I've never, they'll sit there and they'll just look at me and be like, thank you, because we actually do give them several opportunities, and like you said, we do know them really well. That just reminded me, I had a girl who she had relapsed, and a DA agent reached out to me and asked if she could be a CI, a confidential informant. I know her, right? I know my people. And I was like, no, she's relapsed. There's no way she's not gonna benefit from this. No one's gonna benefit from this. She's not gonna complete it. So when someone requests for somebody to be a CI, we do have to talk to or write to the judge. So I wrote to the federal judge. My recommendation was that I didn't find her a qualified candidate to be a CI. And it's very rare. I don't know about for you guys, but a federal judge really never reaches out. But she reached out to me, was wondering, well, why don't you think she's qualified to be a CI? And I just told her, like, I told her all her non-compliance issues, violations, how she's relapsed, she's like using that probably daily meth user. And then yeah, she was like, okay. She went with my recommendation, denied it, and then 2 weeks later, she had picked up a new truck charge. So like I said, we truly know our people. Like, and I was right. Unfortunately.
Yeah, and sometimes they say, I'm sorry I let you down. And I'm like, oh, you didn't let me down. You let yourself down. But that's how invested we are, and they know. Very rarely do we have someone that's so angry with us. You know, I think they know that they're treated very fairly. We treat them very fairly. We give them all the opportunities, and when they don't make it, they say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And another difference at the federal level is they get revoked. They come back out again. They serve another term of supervised release. So there's no, you're done, you got revoked, you're done. You come back out again, and so that rapport building is still there. We meet with them again. All right, let's do it. Let's try it again, and we move forward. So
That's somewhere like, oh, I'm just gonna violate and kill paper. I'm like, no, it's not that easy. You're back.
and just like I mentioned earlier, the agencies that bring these cases forward, the DEA, the FBI, ATF, Border Patrol, they bring the cases forward, and then we supervise them. When we do prepare that warrant or that summons, we work very closely with the Marshal Service, the United States Marshal Service. The United States Marshal Service serves our warrants. So we write the warrant, we prepare that for the court signs off on it pretty much 100% of the time, again, because they know that we are invested. And then it's the job of the Marshal Service to go out and find our person. You guys are familiar with the Marshal Service? Yeah. So they go and get our people for us, they transport them for us, and that's one of their duties as well. So we work very closely with the Marshal Service. So, I hope that I have given you a lot of information about federal probation and what we do, what our job, what our role is. Do you have any questions so far? If we were to do voting with your feet, would you be closer to that side or closer to this side now? You'd be closer to me. Good, I'm glad. That's the goal. So what are some benefits? Now we've told you what we do. We've told you that we're public servants. I've told you how we help people make changes in their lives and hold them accountable, protect the community. But what's in it for you? Because let's be honest, We're all wanting to know, what are we gonna do? I think someone said, I just wanna know what my future looks like, right? I wanna have different opportunities and learn about different professions in the criminal justice field. And everybody wants to know, where's the money? How much money am I looking at earning? And so I remember back in school, I was told, CJ's probably, you're not gonna be a millionaire, but it's rewarding in so many other ways. So, federal probation officers, go ahead, Eileen.
So salary range, that's an estimate. Each district is different, even each office is different, but you're looking at around 49,000 to 11,000, sorry. And that's just like a line officer. We have, with the federal career, you can promote, which is a different salary range. We also have 13 to 26 vacation days per year and 13 days of sick leave per year, and opportunity for comp and flex time. So with us being post-conviction officers, I think our, I feel like we do get a lot of comp time. We work a lot of, like you said, weekend hours, evening hours, mornings. So we accrue a lot of comp time, which is just working extra hours beyond your normal schedule. You don't get paid overtime, you just accrue more like annual leave or vacation time, and then there's flex time, which is if you don't want to accrue those hours, you would just work earlier during the day and get off earlier, or you just kind of adjust your schedule, basically.
So I know when I was sitting in your shoes, what is that? Vacation days, sick days, like, what does that mean? But trust me, ask your parents, or ask your professors, and that's a really big deal. When you're not feeling well, or you just don't want to go to work that day, to be honest. Some days you're sick, and some days you just can't do it because you've invested so much. And honestly, that does happen. You'll have a court case, and it just drained you, and you're just like, I can't go tomorrow. Those vacation, you want to have a job that gives you that benefit. You definitely want to look into that, whether it's in federal probation or anything. You want to know what are their benefits like as far as their vacation time, their sick time, or this is paid, and you have that benefit. In addition to that, like Ellie was saying, the comp time is something that is unique to us. She said we don't get paid overtime, we are salary. But if you work nighttime, then you accrue 4 hours. I think Ellie recently took a vacation only on comp time, so she didn't even touch that.
I took a week off, and I went to visit my family in Mexico, strictly just off of my comp time. I didn't even touch my vacation days, so. I mean, and then, yeah, you're right. I've woken up and I'm like, yeah, I need a mental health day, so I'll just submit some sick time. It can be overwhelming at times. And then we
Many of our district as well, we're very understanding, so there is some work-life balance there. You know, we understand that the job that we do is hard, and I think you saw in the video, you can't write on paper and you can't put it in a job description what we do and how invested we are in these lives. And sometimes, depending, I've received phone calls before, especially during COVID, when everybody was stuck inside. They're all using, some of them are being abused, but we're still working. And so we're navigating our own thing, and we've got to navigate their lives. I had someone calling me like, I just want to commit suicide. You could tell he was intoxicated. I mean, I was on the phone with him for about an hour or two, just trying to get him, looking up on Google, calling the suicide hotline. Where's the nearest hospital? Where was he at? He was just driving, wouldn't stop. Stayed on the phone with him. That's draining, and that's not something that you put in a job description. That's not something that you would just know of. You know, you have to do this job, and so the next day you probably don't want to come to work. And so even for something like that, if I wanted to, I would have put in that comp time. I didn't, but if you want to, you can, and I think our district is very open about that.
And we also have a telework policy, which I love. We get to work from home 2 days out of the week, and then 3 days in the office. Obviously, if we are required to be there, we are required to be in the office. But yeah, it's 2 days as long as you schedule them. You know your schedule basically. So we do get to work from home 2 days. Like I said, I like that. I just literally roll out of bed and walk in.
There's some districts across the country that is still remote to this day. Our district, we believe we are still public servants. We're here to serve the community, and if a person or defendant or offender comes into the office, we should be there. So we still hold that in the Eastern District, but it's nice to have that perk of telework and back to that work-life balance.
And then we have the 11 paid federal holidays, which we have Columbus Day coming up, and we'll be off. So, and then promotional opportunities.
Yeah, I started with the agency in 2007. I promoted to the reentry specialist at one point. I'm a supervisor now. And, you know, and then there's the executive team. You can be an assistant deputy chief, a deputy chief, and a chief. So there are a lot of promotion opportunities. A lot of specialists. We don't carry specialized caseloads, so at the county, sometimes they have mental health officers or sex offender officers. In the federal, or at least in our district, you're going to supervise everybody. You're going to supervise sex offenders, people with mental health, people with serious substance abuse. We supervise them all, but within that, we do have specialists that they are our go-to people that are specialized in sex offenders, mental health, as far as knowledge-wise, and who we go to.
And the TDYs, which I guess we've only had you guys come out here and help us. We've never.
TDYs are what it says, it's a little smaller, called temporary duty assignments. So, like I said, we're across the country, and temporary duty assignments is what it sounds like. It's a temporary duty assignment. So often, other districts will just be overwhelmed with work. They have a lot of reports, a lot of people that received indictments, or possibly someone was on maternity leave, or someone's out on extended sick leave, and they need someone to come fill that hole. They'll solicit nationally for someone to come and do a temporary duty assignment. We've had officers in our office that have worked in Hawaii, 2 weeks to a month at a time, someone that worked in Guam, other states in the country, and like she said, even locally within our district, division to division, when we need help, we'll send someone. During that time that you're on a TDY, you're on full per diem, and per diem means that you're being paid to be there. Your lodging is paid, your food is paid, everything is paid. We're just there working. Since we, like I said earlier, we're like a McDonald's with different franchises. We all operate, we all have the same mission and goal across the country. It might be a little bit different, but you pick that up real quick because we're all trained the same way. You go out there, you network, you meet people, you get an opportunity to see a different environment, and the perk is you get to go somewhere in the country that you probably wouldn't have gone to. So it's a really nice perk. These are offered, these TDYs.
Same with like the training opportunities that we get. I recently went to, so I'm part of the APPA, which is a national organization. It's American Probation and Parole Association. And they had a training in New York. So I went for a couple of days last month. And basically, which they had great, excellent speakers, and it was very educational. So not only do we get that training, but so during the day I was the training, and then in the evenings I got to enjoy a little bit of New York. So with this job, you do get to travel a lot for work, trainings, and like I said, places that we probably would have never even visited on our own. And you're paid.
Yeah, and it's really, it is really nice. I've been to so many places in the country that had I not been doing this job, I wouldn't have gone. A couple of years ago, I went to Gettysburg. In my own mind, I don't think I would have ever gone to Gettysburg, but it's a very historical site. It's very nice to see, nice to visit. In addition to those national organizations that you can join, like the APPA or the Federal Probation Officers Association, we also have what's called the FJC and the AO. I'm part of the FJC, it's the Federal Judicial Center. So it's actually the educational component that teaches and provides education to the judiciary. It's completely different from probation, but again, it's another opportunity for personal growth, professional growth. It's paid for, and you go out and you travel the country. So that's a little bit about the perks. Another perk about federal probation that I thought about this morning is that we're federal law enforcement officers, but if you don't want to be kicking down doors and you want to work a pretty set schedule, this is a job for you. We're pretty much 8 to 5, 9 to 5, flexible schedule, maybe you're 7:30 to 3:30. We do work weekends and evenings, but again, that is mandatory, but it's on your time. You decide when you want to do those weekend hours. You know the people that you supervise. You know when you're going to go out and see them at nighttime. There's nobody really checking what weekend or what nighttime. So that's another big perk, as different than a normal federal agent, that they may get called in the middle of the night to come do this investigation for us. It is pretty much Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So that, to me, that's a huge perk, especially when you have a family or a young family. That's very important. And again, you're not there yet, but one day you will value that. For the future, we have what's called a thrift savings plan. It's somewhat like a 401k. This may be foreign. A lot of these things, I'm telling you, your mind can't even go there. You're just thinking, am I going to pass my test next week? But as you prepare for your career, whether it's federal probation or any career, I encourage you to look into this, to research this when you're making your decision on where you want to be employed. These are very important things as you navigate your future. We have a thrift savings plan. Most federal agencies do. It's like a 401k. It works with the stock market. You put into it, and then the agency matches a 5%. Then we have a pension, and it's very rare that pensions are even offered anymore. State, local, like public agencies, teachers, those receive pensions, but that is another perk. Something that after you retire, you'll continue receiving your check. We have health insurance and health insurance that covers, that follows you after your retirement as well. And then my favorite, like I said earlier, we are law enforcement officers. We're not knocking down doors and making arrests, but we are considered law enforcement and we get paid hazardous duty pay. And because we are considered law enforcement officers, we get to retire at 57. We're eligible to retire at 57, but even more, we're eligible to retire at 50 with 20 years of service. Or if you have 25 years of service, you can retire at any time. So I'm looking at retiring. I'm eligible to retire in 7 years, guys. Maybe you think I look old. I don't feel old, but I can retire in 7 years. Again, you're like 20 and 40 sounds so old, or maybe you're 18, but it's not. I mean, for me, I could retire at 49 and go embark on a new career, or not, because I have my thrift savings and my pension. So I encourage you to even have this conversation with your parents. Would you like to retire at 50, mom or dad? And I think they would say yes.
Okay, and then the requirements to become a U.S. probation officer, there's several. So we would start with obviously a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, psychology, sociology, or a related field. I actually don't have any of that. I have a master's in social work, and an advanced degree is not required, but it is strongly encouraged because when you do apply, you're going to have competition. I mean, there's going to be other applicants with a master's degree, and honestly, they're probably going to lean more towards the advanced degree. So, like I said, it's just strongly encouraged. 2 years of experience in the field of probation, parole, corrections, criminal investigation, or substance abuse counseling. And like all of the federal agencies, you must have not reached your 37th birthday upon hiring. And you also will undergo an extensive background investigation when you are initially hired. And then after that, it's every 5 years. So every 5 years, we have a background investigation. And then once you are hired, you will attend a 6-week training academy at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Charleston, South Carolina, what we call FLETC. And I think during COVID, it was being done online. And then when I got hired on, they were just getting back on the schedule. So I was actually the first 4-week class. So I missed out, yeah, and now they're back to 6 weeks. So.
And the training what's the includes?
Oh yeah, the training, I'm sorry, includes firearms, offensive tactics, and classroom instructions. Yeah, but when I went, I didn't even know how to hold the gun. So 4 weeks in, and I was already qualified to carry.
So back to like the requirements, and just again, definitely here to promote federal probation, but also just to let you know, always work on your writing skills, guys. Writing skills are very important. You're probably like, I'm tired of writing papers, like paper after paper after paper. Those writing skills are going to come in handy, especially if you go into federal probation. I think any type of investigative work, because you have to write those reports. They have to make sense. When you apply with federal probation, that's one of the biggest things that we look at is those writing skills, your essays. And so work on that while you're here. Cultivate and grow in your writing skills if you're not already there. If you are, keep going. Writing is a big deal.
It is, because remember I was telling you, I had a coworker who applied several times to federal and never got in. And one day I reviewed her application, the amount of typos she had, and then it's pretty known that if you have typos in your application, you're not even going to look at it. So just be mindful of that.
Our federal probation academy, what we call FLETC, is in Charleston, South Carolina. You're there for 6 months. It's a great time. I'm going to show you a quick video. It's about 4 minutes long to give you information and give you an insight, a visual to see what we do at that FLETC.
The Federal Probation and Pretrial Academy is located in Charleston, South Carolina. It offers standardized training to new officers. Over a few weeks, officers get to know policy and procedure, learn tools of the trade, and receive firearms and safety training.
The academy was awesome. You go away at the time for 6 weeks in Charleston, South Carolina, and you get to really connect with your classmates. You get an introduction to the federal system, processes and procedures.
Even if you are hired in to be a pre-sentence officer, when you go there, you're going to learn about aspects of supervision and pretrial. So everybody's trained the same.
The next thing we're going to do is the picture certification.
It was very energizing. I thought it was very professional, well-staffed, and at the end of that 6-week period, I felt really prepared to go back to my district and begin my career.
I learned so much. Firearms was a huge help for me because even though I grew up in North Dakota, I'm not a big hunter, so getting that experience.
It allows you an opportunity to get some real-world experiences, but in a training environment, where it's okay to make mistakes, but you learn from those mistakes.
The ORT really made me confident of like going out in the fields and feeling comfortable in my own safety. And just everything that we learned, it was a really great experience.
Made some great relationships. I believe that our academy has the best trainers out of any law enforcement academy in the system.
I love the academy. I've met so many probation officers across the U.S. and that I still have connections with.
I have a friend in every single state, someone I've met through the years at some type of training. It helps you understand how people do things a little differently around the country, but also just those friendships and those relationships are so valuable, particularly as a national system. You know, if I have someone under supervision who needs to travel or needs to transfer to another state, I have someone that I can call who knows me more than just a name on a list.
Yeah, so that's our academy. Sorry guys, it's already past 2. Do we have to cut it short? We're good. We're good. Okay. Now we're going to skip over this. This is just a few pictures. We're part of the internship committee. That's another perk. There's so many committees that you can get involved in. Like in our district, we have a wellness committee, we have a social committee, we have a safety committee, we have a search and seizure team. These are just things that you sign up for voluntarily. We are part of the internship committee, just trying to get some awareness out there to different schools, the high schools. We do courthouse tours, so that's just a little bit about us. We'll be at the career fair on Friday as well. We've been asked, thankfully, and we're honored that we do get asked to come to these types of events in Sam Houston, so we do those as well. And I think we're going to close it up. This next video that you're going to see is going to wrap up why you should be a federal probation officer and why maybe you should just consider at the least as something that you would want to do. And after that, we'll answer any questions that you may have. We do have a QR code with a survey that I would ask you to fill out. Do you have any questions so far, though? Okay, all right, let's watch this video, and then we'll be done.
They serve as the eyes and ears of the federal courts, a workforce of 5,000 individuals. Post-conviction supervision officers are change agents committed to enhancing public safety and rehabilitation. Equipped, trained, and busier than ever, these officers are on the front line, assisting individuals ordered to a term of supervised release.
I was very interested in criminal justice. I thought I would go into like traditional law enforcement, which I did for a while. But the longer I was in school, the more I realized like this rehabilitation component of the justice system is it's very challenging, it's very interesting, it's also very rewarding.
If punishment alone worked, our prison system would be empty, but it's quite opposite, right? And that there is this critical place of, yeah, there is a place for punitive sanctions, but then what? When that person releases, what's going to happen after that? And that's where we come in.
So at some point, they have to live among society, but you can't just remove somebody from a custodial environment and have them have 20 to 30 years of destructive thinking or decision making, and then just plop them in the community and just say, hopefully, you're going to make good decisions. It just doesn't work like that.
Essentially, after someone has been convicted of federal crime, they are released on a term of supervised release. Essentially, it's very similar to parole. There are typically conditions that the judge orders that they must follow. Part of my role as their probation officer is to ensure that they do follow those conditions, and if they do not follow those conditions, I notify the court, advise them of any non-compliance that they committed while on supervision.
We have people that have real serious problems, whether it's drug addiction, mental health issues. Some of them have severe trauma that they're overcoming. So, we have the resources, and we need to apply those resources to the people that are under our supervision.
I've supervised lawyers, I've supervised hardcore gang members, and unfortunately that human element is there, so the way we kind of work with these individuals is the same.
Yeah, I really try to make sure that role clarification comes through, and so they know what exactly my role is, what their role is, and that I am just there to assist them, and I try to make it real casual, build that rapport just from the first relationship, know that they can call me if they need anything, they can text me, whatever they need, I'm there to support them.
Listen, you're on supervision for the next 3 years, and I'm not talking about you staying clean for the next 3 years. Let's stay clean for this week, and let's build on that when we get to this month and next month. Yes, these incremental steps are important, and not only the incremental steps are important, the incremental wins are important, right? So celebrating those wins, the fact that someone got a job for the first time in their life, are some of the greatest conversations I ever had.
If you don't have empathy or compassion, this is probably not a career you want to pursue. But if you're a person that wants to have an impact on others, on the community, and just have a big heart, this is a great career. It offers all those things.
How do you connect with us? Definitely, we're going to be at the career fair. Ellie will be there. Another counterpart will be there on Friday. So Ellie's more than happy to give you more information, have more pamphlets accessible to you, and you can ask some more questions. If you think about it after you leave, like, oh, I thought about that, I should have asked that. Stop by the career fair and invite your friends to come by as well.
And then if you want to, we do have a QR code. That first one will register your email to receive any information about any employment opportunities or internship opportunities, which we do offer. And like she said, we will be at the career fair on Friday, so feel free to stop by. We'll have more information for you and more pamphlets, and we'd love to continue talking to you. And then we do have a LinkedIn page, or if you just want to reach out to us directly, you can take a picture of the slide. It has our emails, or feel free to, before you leave, to grab one of our business cards. It also has our direct line and email.
In the meantime, if you're, this is something that you were interested in and it perked your mind, definitely one of the biggest things is go and get that experience after you graduate. Become a state probation officer, county probation officer, parole officer, work for MHMR, anything that has to do with case management. Get those 2 years of experience. If possible, stay at SAM and get your master's degree. That's what I did. While I went to school here during the evenings, I went to the Woodlands campus. I worked in Montgomery County as a probation officer. I received my 2 years of experience there, went to school in the evenings. By the time I graduated with my master's, I was able to get on with the federal probation. So if you're considering a master's degree, I definitely recommend it, and I definitely recommend that you stay here. It's a great program as well.
And I'm going to switch it over to the next slide. So if you scan this QR code, we would love your feedback. And it's literally just 4 questions, so it won't take a long time.
And we'll be around if you have any questions. You can definitely come down. Thank you so much for being attentive, for playing the game earlier today, for being vocal, for being honest, and just being interactive. The more interactive you are, the better trainings these go as well. So I encourage you, when you go to a training or you go to a session like this, be interactive. Ask the questions that you have. These are the opportunities. Like I said in the video with our training at the National Training Facility, this is a safe space. This is the time to ask the questions. These are all safe, and this is why the college just provides it to you, so that it's